we're going to move slightly from the Generation Y into the whole of the world, because those of us who are 64 and whose trousers have not quite sunk down to show the Y actually also use technology, and we're big customers for a lot of the people here. So I think one of the challenges we have is both to address the issues you were elegantly portraying and to address the fact that most of those people haven't got the money that keeps our business going yet. So we've got to do both, and that's really the exciting part of this, this world that we're in. I'm going to start actually in today's world by asking Adam J, no, not Adam, sorry Adam, Steve Daines from Accor, who is living in today's world and addressing where he is, to just give us an opening thought. Steve.
Yes, well, I think you've spoken of several revolutions, and actually there are many more revolutions going on still in our world. Globally, probably, I represent here the hospitality industry. I'm the only hotelier on this panel, and we have to admit that we haven't been good at tackling all of these revolutions. Some of the revolutions we have been good at tackling. For example, the world is global. You didn't mention that, but the world is going global, and a lot of large hotel companies very early on spread across the world and brought new standards of hotel management and hotel service to some countries that were lagging behind. For example, I worked a lot in South America, and really in countries like Peru, Colombia, Brazil, we brought new standards. So that part of the revolution going on, we understood. In other ways, yes, we have been really quite slow. The world going global, we're quite slow, I think, at grasping that many of our customers today are experiencing service in different parts of the world, and very often better service in different parts of the world. I was reflecting this morning, we've been talking a lot about service in Britain having improved recently, and I've seen that. I mean, I've been living outside the United Kingdom for 20 years, so I've seen the changes more than perhaps you have. And it's true, it has improved. But in other parts of the world, it's better still. I flew in from Singapore last night. Service in Asia, obviously, is exceeding customer expectations in many ways. When you get to Heathrow in the morning, and at immigration you don't even get a smile, it really shows that we still have a long way to go. Other revolutions, well, obviously the digital revolution we've been slow at handling in the hotel industry. We have to recognize that. Even the banking industry has understood how technology can help bring better customer service. We're only just starting. It's interesting, at Accor, the first appointment that was made by our new chairman, Sébastien Bazin, is to hire an IT guru from the telecom world, from the digital world, Vivek Badrinath, who joined the board. It was a shock in the whole company and in the hotel world in general, such an appointment. Generation Y, we're also probably slow, and I think it probably boils down this difficulty in tackling some of these revolutions to the way we've been growing, each of us, in the hotel business. As we said this morning, and it's an asset to the hotel business, a lot of us have started on the work floor. I mean, for example, I was a waiter on a car ferry, and more often than not, I was not serving people but cleaning up vomit. And most of us expect really young people to suffer in the same way, to grow through the ranks. And we think that it's great having risen through the ranks. And I think that we need to install better talent management. We need to have younger people manage sooner. And these young people will be able to help us manage the younger generation, and also to tackle the digital revolutions and other revolutions better than we have in the past. So I think talent management is a key thing that we need to improve, really, to improve the rest.
And that builds the bridge into the talent and the new generation coming through.
Absolutely.
I have to say, for all of those listening, you heard it first. The next Accor app for consumers will be how to clean up vomit. Sorry, slightly off port. We have some technology expertise of our own here, and people who have re-engineered, reimagined our business. I'm going to ask Asia first to talk, you represent Samsung in your life, but you are absolutely in the center of some of these transformational moments that are going on. How does Samsung see what's going on and how it will create opportunities that haven't been created before?
I think the change, just to make it feel a little better, it's not just the hospitality that is been lagging behind. I think the revolution is taking everyone by surprise. The two key things, just to keep things simple, mobility and connectivity. And really, today, every single one of us is a connected individual that has access anytime, anywhere to a wealth of information that 10 years ago was unthinkable, right? So that means that from our perspective, we can experience things in a very different way, as Graham very well explained earlier. But also creates opportunities for us to do different. And I think where there's a threat in a way, mobility, mobile technology from hospitality perspective, what's going to happen with the online new small companies that are coming up. Everything is changing, but what I think is important that we need to go back to is to the user and to the me world. Because the key thing is the expectation from me as a consumer, but also as an employer, right? As an employee, sorry. And it's all going to go down to that. So from Samsung's perspective, we've grown, we've succeeded partly with that growth in mobile devices. That's going to continue, whether it's a wearable, whether it's glasses, whether it's different screen sizes. At the end of the day, the number of devices around us will increase. It's going to be more mobile. It's going to be more connected. When 4G comes, 5G comes, everything is going to be even quicker and more seamless. And at the same time, there will be the brains in the back gathering information from us through all those windows and devices that is going to be thinking and giving us something that is very relevant to us. So mobile technology, connectivity, and relevance is going to make us really unique people that everything, Google will tell us what we want to hear. We'll expect hotels to have ready the food that we like. We'll expect employees to give it. So everything is going to be very much relevant to me to do the job that I need. As a consumer, the products that I think are fit to my taste. So the way we see this change is, of course, we've benefited from that change, the trend. That certainly is not a trend that is going to stop. The way we see is not as a threat, but as an opportunity from a retail and from hospitality perspective. Because at the end of the day, the same way that customers will expect technology to be in the core of a hotel, of a hospitality experience, and that may create some difficulties because it changes, especially for the big, large organizations, a bit slower in change will create some problems. It's also an opportunity because that allows you to give better tools to your employees. We talked this morning about how difficult it is to bring and retain talent. Well, the new generation, give them the tools they expect, more likely that they will retain them. So it creates opportunities to also improve the processes, improve the front and the back end, give better experience in the front, but better communication and collaboration with the back end. Everything is a connectivity is really going to give an opportunity for hospitality and hotel companies to change the world. And we do a lot of statistics, just the data to put out there. 92% of hotel companies that we surveyed recently said that by 2020, every one of us will expect the hotel experience to be personalized to our own specific needs. That is a very simple sentence, but what's behind that is incredible.
We have two people who have been using technology to transform the way they interact with customers and to deliver services that have disintermediated or changed the industry already. Adam, why don't you maybe start a little bit about both how you're using technology and what that's meant to you in terms of intervening in a product in the traditional distribution channel.
Sure, sure, thank you. So I work for Hotels.com, which is part of the Expedia group, which was mentioned earlier. And of course, technology is hugely, Expedia is a technology business. I think the stat earlier of huge spend in that area. I employ in my team a lot of Generation Y. And I was reminded, as shown those pictures of people texting each other, it's around a bank of 6 desks. People are communicating with each other on instant messenger rather than just speaking over the bank of desks. I mean, it's really crazy how this has taken hold. Just speak to each other. So in terms of how we're using technology, well, I mean, Expedia and Hotels.com, we're lucky. We have an enormous amount of traffic on our sites. I think we have 20 unique visitors to an Expedia site every second. So we're able to do enormous amounts of A/B testing. I'm sure many of you know what that is, but that's where you have hold some of your traffic in a control group and some in a test group and give them a different experience, and you watch how they behave, and after 4 or 5 days at that kind of traffic volume, you can, you pick a winner and you move on. And we do a lot of upfront research with customers, and they tell you what they like and whatever, but it's not until you actually test with real customers in a real live experience that you learn what matters, and that can be to drive conversion or help with repeat business or improve service. Lots of different metrics that we're measuring all the time. And we have, I think in the last 12 months we've run about 1,000 of these A/B tests, so massive scale. But it is enabling us to create these very frictionless buying experiences, whether it's desktop, mobile, tablet. And increasingly, we just think of all of that as just a single platform. Customers, I think there's a Google stat that 9 out of 10 bookings a customer researches or shops across more than one device as part of that booking. So, for us, just making that a completely seamless experience, so you can pick up the shop on the different devices is incredibly important for us now.
Oh no, a completely new sector, bringing other people into the market who weren't in the market?
Yeah, I guess the biggest change that we're done is what's commonly referred to as the sharing economy, which, by the way, I think overall for society at large is very good news, because it means a much more efficient use of our assets. So there are many different types of sharing economy companies that have emerged over the past few years. A few examples is there is a company in London called Share My Parking Space. So when you don't use your parking, you can share it. You can share your storage space at home. There is a company called Drivy in France, where you share your car when you don't use it. So the concept of the sharing economy is beautiful, because it says that instead of buying a car, for instance, and using it 10% of its lifetime, let's make sure that it's used 100% of its lifetime, and therefore overall we'll use less of the planet's resources, because we'll need less cars. I think Housetrip, we're probably the largest and most visible vertical of the sharing economy overall, because we're in the sharing of homes. So you can, as a homeowner, when you're not in your home, or for your secondary residence, you can share it with travelers to stay in it when they travel. And there are already millions of people doing that in Europe, 3 million in fact. So there are almost as many homes to rent in Europe already for travelers as there are hotel rooms. I think there are 3.5 million hotel rooms in Europe. So it's a very, very big movement. And I think that we're seeing more and more travelers deciding to choose that type of accommodation as opposed to hotels. So that's the whole movement that we are riding on. And to back up what Ajam just spoke about, I think no matter what, consumer behavior is going to change all the time, and it's critical that as a company you put in place the right machine, the right systems to adapt with it. And I think that technology provides you amazing tools to do that. A/B testing, we do many too, not thousands but hundreds easily. So it's a fantastic tool to constantly change the product that you offer to consumer, and you can't lose, because you always pick the winner out of the test. So the version that provides a better experience to the consumer. We do many user experience testing. We use a fantastic tool called usertesting.com, where you can see users using your product and see what can be improved. So if I would encourage if I would have to give any advice is no matter what, consumer behavior is going to keep evolving, so make sure that you have the right mechanisms in place to track those evolution on change thereof.
Let me give you a provocative question. Arno might want to put his statistics in. Airbnb, 6 million guest stays, 550,000 properties, 83% compound growth at the moment. I could make a slightly in-your-face comment, which I will, which is, isn't that all business that Accor's lost? And how, as hotel companies, so not to make it too personal, as hotel companies respond, how do you, on the one hand, use technology, the digital revolution, to improve what you do, but also keep your share of mind, wallet, and everything else? Because it feels that one of the things is happening here is that resources are being brought into the mix that weren't in the mix, and the world's changing.
Yes, but I think all the revolutions we're talking about are fundamentally helping tourism, helping the growth of tourism. All these young people we've talked about, of course, they have ways that we sometimes dislike and they're difficult to manage, but they're also fantastic customers. Right? They like to travel, they want new experiences. And the fact that there are new opportunities for them to go into a city and perhaps stay in a different property and experience something different to a hotel, I think is fine fundamentally for the tourism business, and therefore it's fine for the hospitality business as well. It also creates emulation. It forces us as a business to improve and to seek really to transform what have been stays into experiences. So I think it's great. I think there are the distribution battle has become a bit of an obsession for us in the hotel business because it's been eating margins. Yes, eating up margins. And when you require 20% to post a hotel on a website, well, yes, it's a bit steep. And so obviously as a business, yes. And so obviously as a business, we need to study new ways of distributing, to think of the future of distribution, and we haven't lost all battles yet. There's the mobile battle to come, and so we're all rushing to make our new apps, which we will hope will attract customers directly onto the mobile. So there's this distribution business that obviously we need to tackle. But I think to answer your question, technology must help us fundamentally to improve customer service. And I liked the way this morning bankers and other panelists have said again and again that the core of our business is getting the human contact between two people, getting it right. In Australia, for example, Accor has launched across its 200 properties, we're a leader in Australia, something called Peopleology, which is really a training scheme that works property per property across our brands, from budget brands to Sofitel, to teach people to understand really how each guest comes into the hotel, comes into the property with his share of problems, with his burden, and try to identify what state of mind he's in and to react in the correct way. I think that personalization is definitely what is expected of us. Technology will help us. The battle for big data analysis is still ahead of us. It's not, so we haven't lost the battle for big data yet. And we mustn't lose it. It's like the mobile battle. We mustn't lose the mobile battle as hoteliers. And understanding each and every customer, understanding what he's like, what he's disliked, must drive customer service in the future. And that's the way we will improve our service through the help of technology. And therefore, it's not a threat, it's a help.
Right. I think that the interesting thought that's jumped into my mind is that some of the more traditional businesses, whether they're hoteliers or whatever, in any industry, what they've tried to do over the last 10 or 20 years has been to computerize their existing business. So they've looked at their business and they've said, where can we get efficiencies and productivities and speed and connectivity? But they actually haven't changed their business. So there's a difference between computerizing the reception experience at a hotel and not having that experience because you can do it a different way. And I think what initially the hardware that the Samsungs and that did was to change the power relationship by putting it into our hands. And now Expedia and so on are, what you guys I think are doing is you're showing us that computers can help us do things we couldn't have otherwise done. You know, Housetrip doesn't exist if there isn't a computer system and an internet. And I think that's where the traditional companies need to put some of their brain power.
It's interesting you say that because, as you know, airlines have automated check-ins. And a lot of us in the hotel industry first tried to computerize the check-in service in the hotel by having a kind of box where you... we're just about to roll out in Accor what we call the Welcome Project throughout our operations, where we're trying to change completely the check-in system and do it through the telephone, and therefore have no operation really in the lobby related to check-in anymore, which is a completely different way of approaching the business. So you're right, yes, we've, I guess, had a tendency to computerize something rather than think it in a different way.
Rather than think it through, yeah.
Can I just, because it's funny it's interesting to see the Accor view. We've very recently, and I bring this point because although everybody expects changes to happen, the big changes suddenly the small players that are not in the radar suddenly do something that nobody expects. We've very recently been working with a hotel company that has opened in Gatwick Airport. For those who travel through Gatwick and you see the name Block Hotels, it's a hotel within the terminal. Now, this is a hotel that wanted to reinvent the customer experience for businessmen, efficiency. And essentially, you walk in with your mobile phone, you check in, no assistant, you use the mobile phone to open the door, you walk in, then within the room you have two options. You have a tablet there, a Samsung tablet, of course, or your own mobile device, you download an application, and instantly, with your same device that works, you spend it the whole day with. You control the TV, the blinds, the aircon, the lighting. That same experience is an extension of your arm. The Samsung mobile phone allows you to control your environment. And as soon as the next morning you want to check out, you push a button, you check out, sends a message to the cleaner who cleans, and automatically that room becomes available. Now, if you think and design from the customer experience perspective, then you use technology to enable that. From a newcomer perspective, that's easier, that when you have an existent operation, but for especially large hotel chains, and I know there are a few in the room, the small ones, be careful with the small ones because they're moving fast and they're thinking customer first.
Just to absolutely underscore your experience, I also happen to chair a consumer lending business with 30,000 agents. We put in, across Europe, attempted to put in, wasted more £1 million than I'd like to think, a centrally driven, mobile-based app. Disaster. We then bought 20 tablets, gave them to the sharp end of the staff in Katowice and said, tell us how to run this business. It's now rolled out to 30,000 people because they got it right, and they got it right in 4 weeks. Tested it for 12. Their boss looked at it and said, it's going to take me 8 weeks to find this out. There was a magic moment, many people may have experienced this, when the board of this company, one of the people said, I think we need to test whether tablets work. Maybe not. And there was this marvelous moment where the staff were much more digitally advanced, technologically advanced than the business. Because in their day lives, their real lives, they'd adapted, but the business hadn't. And I think your point about coming from the customer end, which is really the challenge for established businesses, because someone says, we've got to automate this business, instead of saying, how do we transform the experience?
Yes, we're not in the business of automating service, Accor. When I say that we want to have automated check-in, it's not to suppress staff, it's to release staff for more service to people who want service. Yes. Some people just want to go to the room, fine. Exactly. But a lot of people want information, and today they don't get it because there's a line. So we want to be in the business of providing service. And I think what is happening at Gatwick is fine, but it's another concept. And I think there's room, there's room for Airbnb or for rentals. There's room for a lot of players. I think that the hoteliers, the hotel industry is in people business. We are in the business of trying to relate people.
All of you might want to pick this up. One of the great opportunities, if you think about our industry, is it's not getting more people to buy rooms in a hotel in Park Lane in Wimbledon week. That's not usually a hotelier's problem. It's more the customer's problem. But year-round, we run 78% occupancy or thereabouts, maybe in London, 50 in the provinces. Occupancy, using the assets better, particularly when you've got changing demographics. And you didn't touch on one of the things I saw on your website, which is the age, us old codgers, who are much more flexible in terms of time you're moving. Yeah. Are there some really evident opportunities to increase the efficiency and get even more out of this key industry?
Well, I think they are, and I think that's what the promise, I think, even then of technology does, because it allows you to have more information than we've ever had before. And if that information is then turned into value, that's actually what needs to happen. So my message is often to people, don't get caught up with the technology. And because it's not about whether you're using this particular handset or that particular tablet, because they'll always be upgrading and changing. It's about whether the technology is actually mediating and both an understanding of the customer and then a connection with the customer. And I agree with what you're saying. It's complete personalization. Some people would love to never see anybody, and some people love to be greeted. And the more you know those people and what they prefer, the more you can... For me, Generation Y likes to be pleasantly surprised. But then so do we all, at any age, and connecting in with that.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about the customer, right? So, for instance, I think that as an individual hotel owner or an individual homeowner for house trip, the very best advice I could give you is simply try to satisfy your customer. Really try to understand what they want, what will delight them when they stay in your property. Like one thing that I always love when I stay in house trip is that many owners fill the fridge in the property when I check in. That's always a great surprise. And when you do that, then you're going to start to accumulate, to a lot of goodwill. People are going to post positive reviews on you online. They're going to speak around to their friends about the great experience that they've had with you, and everything is going to improve. So be ruthless about listening to what consumers want. Aim to delight them. I think that's the very best thing that anyone can do, really.
Let's keep that theme as we have a closing comment. Adam,
sure.
Customer-led, what's your single piece of advice or single observation on where we should focus?
We cannot underestimate how important mobile is for this industry in the booking period and in the sort of during stay and post stay. We already have about 25% of our bookings are mobile. I wouldn't be surprised in 2 or 3 years' time if that's as much as half our bookings. It is just extraordinary, the pace of change, and if you're not ready for it, you're in big trouble.
A lot of people come and ask Samsung, can you please help us solve our problem, right? It's very difficult. My message to hotel companies would be there's no magic answer at the moment. Technology is moving fast, but the key thing is there are lots of different entities within the industry, and especially hoteliers have a very large know-how on how the business runs and have more and more information on the customer. My parting message would be work with companies like us, Samsung, with companies like technology companies that have the analytics and the cloud and the information part. Work with experts who have a cross-field visibility of what's happening. And then together we can just, having the customer first, let's help understand what are the customer insights, who is that Generation Y, or better said, the digital, what's the word? Is it digital native. Digital native. Yeah. I like that word better. I try to understand them, and let's together, because let's be honest, most of us are not digital native, and we don't think like them. So we need to work together to try to understand what their expectations are going to be, How can we translate that to experience, to technology if needed, and then create and deliver that experience?
I think the exciting thing about living where we live in history is that we have never had as many channels as we have now to actually listen to people. And most of you have formal feedback loops that you request, and most of those are absolutely boring. And you don't get real value. So you've got to find other ways to listen. And that might be listening in. So listening in on social media conversations and using big data and listening into partners who are listening in. I don't think you can underestimate. If you can't underestimate mobile, you can't underestimate data. Because data is not just numbers on a page. It's people's expressions of delight and dissatisfaction. And we've got that information. We just need to listen.
I think my closing comments will be on culture and talent management. When you say yes, we have to work with people from Samsung, from other big digital companies. We have to integrate young people. But very often what happens in our companies is a clash of culture because we are in a traditional business. In the hotel business, I think we can learn from the budget hotels and the economy hotels, where talent management has been very often more efficient at the end of the day, with younger managers rising to the top faster. And I think that needs to spread somehow to the mid-scale and the upscale and the luxury, where we have a lot of older managers. We need to have a blend of generations in the management of our hotels, our hotel companies in general, but each hotel too, so that this clash doesn't happen and that we can provide a better customer experience in terms of digital, in terms of technical revolution, but also keep the good quality of service that is at the heart of our business. I always come back to that.
Thank you all very much. My small contribution is to say that looking as I am for the next CEO of Visit Britain to follow on the admirable Sandy Dorr, capacity to work with and harness this is absolutely central to the job spec, more than almost anything else. I think this is, and the challenge that I see in various businesses for large corporations is speed. You were talking about A/B tests, and easily said, big companies still find that incredibly difficult if they're not digital companies, to think that you might have to delegate because it can't be all done by the bosses. You're going to have to let rip. I remember sitting at a WTTC conference and asking an Indian person in the travel business, how often do you modify your website? 3 times a day. Okay, right. No, this is not then a major corporate project. No, it's the blood, the DNA of the business. And I think that for the bigger people and the competitive advantage in this industry of SMEs is, God bless the web. Everyone can get to everyone. If you've got a way of engaging with customers with a unique story, you have an ability to end run all the big players and have a full house. So I don't think this is the last time this group's going to be having these discussions, but on behalf of the audience, thank you all very much for your contribution and the great session. Thank you.